This is the Oceania Kart Championship set for a start here at Oran Park, and this is the Formula Super A class, in fact the Formula 1 class of karting. And the Oceania Kart Championship is one of 6 races to seed the drivers to the world titles. With me in commentary, Edward Krause and Greg Rust. Greg, let's take a look at the grid.
From pole position is Jarno Trullis, driving for Tony Kart, all the way from Italy. On the outside of him, Andrea Bellici, also from Italy, driving a PCR. From row 2, it is Johnny Mislovic, driving a Tony Kart. And on the outside of him, Charlotte Helberg, Charlotte from Holland, and affectionately known as Lotta. From the third row of the grid, it is Allessandro Maneti, driving a CRG. And rounding out the top 6 for you, Takio Matsuya.
Well, we're in the starters' hands. They have a race start on board now. 28 laps of this circuit will be taxing on not only the drivers, but also the machinery. Now, race tactics will start immediately. Well worth remembering that these drivers pre-qualified this morning for these positions, and so these are the established races. They are running at the front, so the fastest right from the front. Edward Krause is with us. He's a journalist involved in karting and has been following this series, and in fact, Edward, you've been here for the last 4 days. These are the fast guys.
They certainly are, Greg. I mean, these guys, Jarno Trullis out in front is his very last go-karting race. He's moving on to Formula 3, and he's looking to go out with a win. He has been absolutely dominant all weekend. He set the fastest time in time trials and has won every single race, bar one, referring to his teammate, Tony Kart driver Johnny Mislovic.
Yes, it certainly seems that the Tony Kart team are fairly dominant right at the moment. It really will come down to who's looked after his equipment when we get around the 27-lap bracket. Right at the moment, though, team tactics also do come into play. 2 team members will play tag with each other, given that they want to catch up to someone in front, and team members generally concede that the faster will go through and simply run ahead of the team. It's almost like cycling to a degree, Greg Rust, but not quite as friendly. I don't think it's pretty serious out there.
It certainly is very serious. These guys, of course, are the world's best drivers, so they tend to take things fairly seriously. At the moment, Italians running 1, 2, and 3. It is Jarno Trullis, then it's Bellici. Oh, Bellici just got up the inside of Maneti. Maneti was running in 2nd place, and he's been relegated back one. Oh, Bellici just running a little bit wide there. You can see him. He's signalling to Maneti by the looks of things that, hey, I'm going after Jarno Trullis. That's what he wants to do, and he's going to get on with it.
Yes, countrymen they may be, but they're very determined to take this out as an individual affair. Now, as we know, kart racing at this level is exactly where... Oh, we've lost our leader, Greg Rust, a bit of a turnaround here.
Yeah, very surprising. Not a very fast part of the circuit. It seemed to me as though possibly he had a seizure. Sometimes what happens with these particular karts is that if not enough oil is being pumped through the engine, they can have a dry seize. Now, that's a very odd part of the circuit for that to happen, and so possibly that's what's gone on. Your leader now is Bellici, so Bellici doing a nice job out front of the PCR, being hounded though by Maneti, and then from Sweden, sitting in behind him, aboard kart number 19, it's Mislovic.
Yes, it certainly seems that they're on the fine line as far as engine tuning goes, and they are pretty busy out there. We'll take you through some of the things that they do whilst they're on the circuit a little later as the race develops. But this is the shopping trolley virtually for Formula 1 teams. Formula 3000, Formula 3 teams, they are very, very interested in who is fast, who is strong, and who has race tactics, because these are so close in performance. Here we go again, Greg Rust. Plenty of action from the Italians out in front, and there'll be plenty of changes of position out there throughout the race. The bottom line being that some seem to run different gearing, and Edward, that is definitely the case. You can see some different speeds on various parts of the circuit. This class allows them to run quite a few modifications, so gearing-wise they can be different.
Yes, Greg, that's right. They all run single sprocket engines, so that they only have 1 gear, direct drive, but what they can do, they can adjust their carburetors so that the high-speed needle, which allows certain amount of fuel to come through at the high speed, as opposed to low-speed corners, that can also affect their top-end speed. So there's quite a lot that they can do themselves as far as determining what speeds at what part of the circuits they will run at.
I suppose really the best part about this particular class is you have to really outthink the other competitors. The machinery advantage is not always going to be there for you, and so much stock, Greg Rust, is put into the tyres. The tyres are locked away between the races. In fact, they're allowed 1 set and 1 spare on the one day. Now, that happens to be race day today, and that means that, you know, you've really got to look after those tyres. Do you take the big risks early, or do you just sit back and hope that the others burn up the rubber and you can make a run towards the end.
Certainly, it's a tremendous opportunity, really, in terms of building a future Formula One star or a top touring car driver, if you like, because it teaches them so much about racecraft, about conserving the tyres, learning to get the best setup out of the kart depending upon the circuit, and that's all important as they progress through the racing ranks. We've just had a nice move there aboard the Haas kart. That's kart number 6, Takeo Matsuya from Japan, doing a terrific job, now up into 3rd place. That's the young Swedish driver aboard kart number 19. That's, of course, Johnny Mislovic.
It certainly seems that the drivers out there, Greg, are definitely copping a pounding. This is super physical, and in fact, you've only got to look at the drivers when they get out of a particular test session or a race, and you realise that these guys are really putting in a lot of physical effort. In fact, I'm led to believe that these are actually more physical than a Formula One car to drive, simply because they don't have suspension. The only compliance in the whole vehicle is the tyres and a little bit of chassis flex. The rest of it, you're sitting millimetres from the ground on a absolutely solid suspension base. It really does knock you around. And one thing that I've noticed in the last couple of days watching the drivers, especially at the end of long sessions, even the pre-final for the Formula A Super, is interesting that the drivers that are getting tired start to lean away from the corner, and the drivers that are still fit are leaning into the corner. Now, we'll start to see that as this race goes down, and the helmets as well start to lean over, that the drivers that are fit tip their helmet into the corner. Those that are starting to get a little bit tired start to let the G-forces take over, and their head starts to move over. So if it's a right-hand corner, if you're fit and strong, you're leaning to the right. You're tipping your body in with the cart and helping that weight transfer to the inside of the corner. As you get tired, the helmet just seems to move a little over to the left, and so does the shoulders. So we'll keep an eye on that and just see how fit the particular drivers are that we're going to have a look at. But this is tough. In fact, a lot of the drivers have to tape the webbing between their thumb and forefinger, simply because the force through the steering wheel is so rough on their hands that they actually put pads with tape onto the webbing of their fingers to try and offset the vibrations that come through. These are direct steer machines. There is no steering box.
Lifting its rear wheel, so it's a good example of the sort of chassis flex and the sort of forces that are placed upon the driver. In fact, so much stress placed upon the driver that a lot of them use like a chest pad, if you like, or rib pad, because the seat can dig into them so heavily in some of these faster corners that you can see here. Now, one good thing to point out, of course, is that karting is a real training ground for the Formula One championship tomorrow. The late great Ayrton Senna came up through the karting ranks, as did the current Formula One champion Michael Schumacher. Now, Schumacher still enjoys dabbling in karts. He spent around 3 days last year with the Tony Kart team at a circuit in Italy, and enjoyed some good testing with them. So he finds that it's a great way for him to get back to basics with racing, to learn to get a good feel for the kart, what the kart's doing, and then he can in turn relate that to his Formula One car.
Well, right at the moment, no one seems to be getting a break on this field. It's pretty tight up the front. In fact, lap times pretty comparable to the times they were setting in qualifying. So right at the moment, the pressure is well and truly on. Now, kart racing, just like any other form of motor racing, really does lend itself to slipstreaming. The man out in front is definitely doing the hard work as far as the air is concerned, pushing it out of the way. The guy in second place, well, he picks it up and loses it at the same time. Whereas he's having the air moved out of the way for him, he's also not getting as much air to that engine. And so the man in second place maybe can take a little bit of richness in the engine and simply try and baby the engine along. Given that the guy in front gets a break, well, that plan's going to go right out the window. And right at the moment, the plan seems to be working okay, but we'll see how it pans out. Now, Edward, one of the most crucial parts of this entire game of karting seems to be how you look after your tyres. I heard Ben Horseman talking to his tyre technicians at Vega this morning, and first of all, Ben Horseman speaks immaculate Italian. I was amazed. I sort of spun around to see who was talking about what, and here he was bent over the tyres. And Edward, they really are serious about just how the tyres perform and what they intend on getting likewise out of them.
That's right, Greg. And I mean, tyres are so critical. They can make the difference for up to 1 second per lap. In go-karts, you can have 50 or 60 go-karts separated by 1 second. So tyres are very critical. They have to last around 80 racing laps.
Well, it seems to me, Greg Rust, we're now starting to see the first three spreading out a little bit. They've been in control for a long time, but let's just go back through the field and see just who's who in the zoo.
Maneti is your leader at the moment. The Italian in behind him is Bellici. And sitting back there in third place, it of course is Matsuya from Japan. So no real change in the top three at the moment. You are right though. The gap is starting to increase between the three of them. And I think, to be honest with you, Maneti has really just put his head down. He's gotten on with it. He hasn't been overly pressured too much by the people sitting in behind him. That's kart number 12. That's Piazza Muzza from all the way from South Africa. And just another one of the international drivers here at Oran Park this weekend. In fact, 35 international drivers here from 13 different countries. A real international flavour, 10 of the top factory teams. Just to recap them for you, your leader at the moment is Maneti. In behind him, Bellici. Sitting back in third place is Matsuya. I'll tell you what, who's making a good move up into fourth place. Another Italian, Giorgio Pantano. The real mover on the circuit at the moment, I think he's the fastest man on the circuit at the moment, is Pantano, Giorgio Pantano. So it'd be interesting to see how he goes towards the close of this particular race.
Well, one thing is for sure and certain, this is a long, long race, and we've been watching these guys battling around for the last few days. Their fitness amazes me. In fact, as they get out of the kart after a race, I mean, aside from a bit of perspiration, they seem to be pretty well okay, and that's very, very surprising when you consider how physical it is out here. Now we've got a race on here. We've got a three-way race for second place. And Rusty, this is what we've been waiting for, just to see who comes into their own towards the end, who's got the good tyres.
I think a lot of them have gone for a strategy early in the race, but as they get towards the close, maybe hanging the strategy is probably what they're looking at. At the moment, there's Bellici sitting back in second place, Matsuya in third. Matsuya is coming under a lot of pressure from Pantano. Pantano, the real charger. Here he is on the back of the Haas kart. They come down into this hard braking area. They turn right, a very fast part of the circuit. Look at the ground that Pantano made up just then alone. Another hard right as they come into pit corner, and Pantano sneaks up the inside, now into third place.
Well, he did that without too much trouble. Let's have a look at this on the replay. Simply gets up the inside, oversteers the kart in, and if you're up the inside like that, there's nothing that the man you're trying to overtake can do about it, so the charge is on. Now, has he left it too late? We've only got a few laps to run now, and so you've really got to wonder whether the charge is a little late, but it's a strong charge, and he may very well be able to take it all the way to the front of the field. Everybody just settling themselves in. They do a fair bit of looking around. Well, they don't have mirrors, so the only way you really know that someone is closing on you is to have a bit of a bo peep behind and see what's going on. The other thing that the competitors are doing throughout the race is they do sneak a look at the tyres. As you've probably noticed watching motorsport over the years, when you're looking at an open wheel vehicle that has an onboard camera, it's easy to see the bands that develop on the tyres. They develop as a grey band on a black tyre, and that's where the heat's developing on the tyre. The drivers will change strategies, change the way they're cornering, change the way they brake in order to try and baby the tyres through, or if they look strong, they'll simply go with it and try and lay some fast laps down. And the pace is absolutely electric at the front. As we've said, this is Formula Super A. This is the Formula 1 class of kart racing. They do not get any faster in sprint racing anywhere in the world. Well, they're heading over the bridge for the final time. It's been a long race. It's been a hard race. Oran Park must be congratulated. They've used all of their circuits here to put this one together. And the best news is we have the biggest crowd, Greg Rust, watching what has been one of the fastest and best kart races I've ever seen.
Well, this is the final corner for your leader, Maneti. He comes through there very nicely. Look at him raising his hand to the crowd. He's pretty excited. Comes across the line to grab the checkered flag. A good win for him. Bellici second, Pantano third, and fourth place is Matsuya. So it's a CRG first, a PCR second, and a CRG kart third.
Bravo, Allessandro Maneti. Fantastic race. How do you feel?
Yeah, I'm very happy. This is the first race for me with this engine. It's everything new for me. I win, so I'm very happy.
Bravo, buona fortuna con tutto.
Grazie tanto e saluto tutti. I buy everybody.